friends. Welcome to Sky House Herbs podcast. I'm Ashley Elenbaas, a clinical herbalist, and in this space, I share my knowledge and experience with plant medicine to help you on your own journey of healing and transformation. Join me in exploring the ancient wisdom of plant spirit medicine and how it can be used to heal the body, mind, and spirit. We'll talk to experts in the field and share stories from people who've been transformed by powerful plant allies. New episodes are released each Monday, so please subscribe. And now, let's explore this mystical world of plant medicine together. Hey everyone, welcome in. Today is like a bittersweet moment because I am closing out the current goddess series that I have been so dedicated to. But don't worry, I am not ending my own research and practices. I am just going to take a little break after this episode to focus back on herbs and give you more content that is more specifically herb related. But today is kind of like the wrap up. So if you've been following my podcast over the last, 4 or 5 sessions, I've been really exploring the Neolithic goddess worship from the old European area and looking at symbols of snakes and tombs and caves and figurines, and how all of these can tell us something about the way that women used to live thousands of years ago in a very peaceful and matrilineal culture. So it has been such a deep source of inspiration for me, grounding, and has really helped me to feel, I want to say more at home, like on this planet, knowing that for 8,000 years, women lived in a way that was so deeply connected to the earth and to worship of the goddess. So I hope you've enjoyed the series so far. And in today's topic, or in today's episode, what I'll be doing is bringing it all together and looking at how do we take everything we've learned about these ancient Neolithic goddess worshiping people and bring it into the modern world. And I'm not doing this alone. These are things that have been brought together from the work of many, many other women who have come before me. And so I will mention some of them by name in this video. I will also give you links to videos and series that I think you will really, really love and learn a lot from, as I have. I wanted to say I have a new camera. Tell me what you think. It's like I'm getting used to it. It's like close to my face. So, and the lighting's a little different too. So I think I like it, but let me know what you think if it's too distracting to have this much of my face in the field. Before we go into today's topic, I did want to remind you, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please take a moment, click the subscribe button. It helps my channel to stay at the top of the list so that other people, when they're searching things like herbalism, goddess worship, and practical tools for wellness, they find my channel. So thank you for taking a moment to subscribe. And I also wanted to mention that I will be offering garden gatherings in person here in the Minnesota area, as well as teaching at the Midwest Women's Herb Conference in Wisconsin. And I'll be hosting with my husband a summer solstice gathering in Minneapolis. So please go to skyhouseherbs.com, click on events, and you will see all of the upcoming places that I will be teaching and ways to stay connected. Okay. So friends, here is what I will share with you today. We're going to talk about what is the modern goddess. What does a modern goddess look like? Who is she? And what are the things that she embodies in herself and the way she moves in the world? We're also going to look at very practical things that you can do and herbs. And I've got, I'm looking over here, but you can't see. I've got a basket full of herbs. I've got some crystals and things. So I have some tools I want to share with you because the title of this talk is The Modern Goddess Living Courageously with Pockets Full of Plants and Charms. And I have a lot of things I want to share with you and some stories as well, so that you can walk in the world with confidence, with grace, with courage, and really feel like you can take up space as somebody who embodies the goddess way of seeing the world. And this can be in any body. You can be in a male body, you can be in a non-gendered body, you can be in a female body, and you can live and really walk with this presence. And this is something that I have been practicing, and it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing how it changes your relationship with the world and with others. So the first thing I wanted to say is who was the Neolithic goddess of old Europe? And if you've watched any of the classes or episodes of this series, you'll see that she represents the holistic vision of the divine feminine. And this includes the aspects of the goddess who births things into creation, the goddess who nurses and nourishes and sustains life. She is also the goddess who takes things away, the one who comes in with the hand of death and removes the life, and then places that life back into the earth so it can be reborn and regenerated. And so we see that the goddess represents this whole cycle of life and death and rebirth, and does it with a hand of love and a hand of, it's not always like gentle, right? Like nature is not always gentle, and the goddess is not always gentle, but she is consistent. She is consistent in the way that she cycles through time. And in that cycling, we can build trust and we can build faith. And I think, to me at least, knowing that there is consistency and these patterns that I can count on, it gives me courage. It gives me courage to live a little bit more boldly and to have trust that all will be taken care of, all will be resolved in time. And one thing that really stood out to me, I'm listening to this series called, it's called The Goddess, and it was put together by a German cinematographer. And she basically looked at the work from the ancient peoples of the Neolithic time. And kind of, it's a 6-part series where she follows the way that the goddess was perceived through time, through art, through culture, and the ways that we can carry on this work. And she interviewed Starhawk. And this is kind of interesting because I came across Starhawk when I was a college freshman in Asheville, North Carolina. And I remember I came across the book, The Fifth Sacred Thing, when I was at a bookstore. And there was something about the cover and the name and the author, everything about that book. I was like, I need this book. And like I usually do with books when I'm at a bookstore, I flipped it open to a page and I just randomly read it and was like, does this grab me? And I was like, what? This book is what I've been waiting for. So I think I've read The Fifth Sacred Thing maybe about 5 or 6 times. And so Starhawk, she is an incredible author, feminist, writer, and she is also a permaculturist. And so when she was interviewed in this goddess series that I was recently watching, she talked about, for her as a woman and someone who wants to do something practically helpful for the earth, she started getting into permaculture and understanding the ways of supporting the regenerative capacity of the land and of the earth itself in the way that you tend and steward it. And she mentioned the 3 principles of permaculture are very similar to the principles of this ancient goddess worship. So I wanted to share these 3 principles with you from Starhawk and how they're connected and how this can help us to figure out ways of living in the modern world, but still holding on to these ancient principles. So in permaculture, there's 3 tenets of permaculture. Earth care is the first, people care is the second, and fair share or future care is the third. So I'll just say those again. So it's earth care, people care, and future care. And she said, this is very much the way that our ancestors lived. And it's the same in the goddess worshiping culture, because we think about earth care, that the earth is our mother. And so when we care for the earth, we are caring for the goddess. When we care for people, then we are doing the work of the goddess, the divine mother, by caring for all of her children in all of their different bodies, animal bodies, people bodies, plant bodies. And when we practice future care, we're looking at sustainability and how do we protect this earth and its resources and make sure that they are available to future generations. And so I wanted to talk about how we can take these three tenets and apply them in our own daily modern life, because sometimes it feels like, well, how do I actually do this? It's actually more accessible than we think. So, to live in this way, the way that we can practice earth care is very simple. We can garden, we can go and find food from local places like local farmers. We can shop at local farmers markets. We can find ways of reducing waste and consumption. So, just buying less stuff is a really easy way, and trying to buy things with less packaging. One thing that I've been doing is shopping more on Facebook Marketplace and at thrift stores and consignment shops, and just trying to find things that I can reuse and then give them back into that economy. So when I'm finished using something, giving it, donating it or selling it on Facebook Marketplace. So that way the cycle can be continued, and that we aren't putting things into landfills and we're not using more resources to have things packaged and shipped, because that does create more burden on the earth. People care. This is a favorite one of mine because I have lots of planets in the 11th house of community. And, for me, one of the things that I've been doing since relocating to Minnesota about 5 years ago is just starting small and offering small community spaces where people can come together and do things that are, I think, of high value. So, for example, when I moved here to Minnesota, once I got my garden established, I just started opening up my garden for gatherings. And so, it started off, I'd have like 5 to 7 people, and we'd sit in the garden and do art and make medicines and talk about the plants, get to know one another through just talking, I had 5 questions and I said, I want everyone to answer these 5 questions. Let's get to know each other. So each of us can facilitate small local community gatherings, whether it's in our own backyard, whether it's at a park in the neighborhood. It doesn't have to be fancy. Also, you can connect and work if you have children who are in school. Can you volunteer for field trips? Is there ways that you can get more actively involved in the school communities? If you have a place of worship, becoming more involved in your worship communities, just creating local gatherings. Like, you'd be surprised at how many people are looking for cool things. And there's great websites like Eventbrite. It's a nominal fee. I think you can even sign up for free, and you can just list a gathering. And for example, I'm going to be hosting a women's drum making workshop. I found a woman who's been leading drum making workshops for 30 years. And I just emailed her and said, I'd like to host one. And so I'm organizing that now. And, there's a lot of local platforms you can use to find people who are interested in the same things you are, and then to promote those gatherings and events. And then future care, this idea of leaving the world better than we found it. And so this can be just very small, locally based, like finding, are there like waste pickups, or like, what do they call them? Like trash pickups, or like, I know for Earth Day here, there were tons of small groups that went along the waterways and picked up trash. You can just do that too within, your own family system. Is like, hey, everyone, it's Sunday. Let's go out and pick up trash in the neighborhood. It can be something that's, you don't even have to organize something large. It can just be something you do personally. And if you live in a city, just take a bag and go on a walk through your city landscape and pick up trash. And by doing that, you are contributing to creating a more beautiful place for others and for future generations. So those were just a few ideas based on those 3 tenets of permaculture. And I strongly, strongly encourage you to start small. really, you don't have to take on the world as your project, but you can take on your yard, you can take on your neighborhood, and you can take on your community to get started, to get involved. And that is the way that the matrilineal culture really worked. And one of the things that I really think is important is acting like a mother to all. And that is a way we can embody the goddess in ourselves in real time. And I'll just tell you a story that of how this came to be in my own life. So we had our water softener replaced because, sorry, it's going in and out of focus. I can see that. Weird. I'll try to hold still. It's hard. I like to use my hands and move around. So I had a service technician out at my home because our water softener was broken. And while he was replacing the water softener, he cut his finger really bad. And I was up in my office here working, and I heard, here, ma'am, ma'am, and a knock knock on my office door. And I was like, oh gosh. So I went down, and he had like a paper towel over his hand, and it was just soaked in blood. And he was a younger man. He must be in his 20s. And I said, it's going to be okay. I'm going to help you. He's like, I'm feeling really faint. I think I'm going to pass out. And I said, okay, well, sit down. So I had him sit down on our stairs, and I said, you just stay here. Okay. I'm going to get a few things. So I got some cloth. I got him a glass of water, and I, just told him, I said, okay, I want you to just sit here, take some deep breaths, and we'll figure this out. And so I basically helped him. Applied pressure to the cut. I had him drink some cold water just because that's good. Water is so good when we're having a shock. And he was basically in shock, was what was happening. And I realized that. So, and he kept apologizing, saying, I'm so sorry to take you away from your work. I'm so sorry to bother you. And I said, I'm a mother. And as a mother to my children, when I became a mother to my children, I became a mother to everyone. And so this is part of my work and my job. And it is never a waste or a burden to take care of other people who are in need. So don't you worry. There is nothing else that I would rather do than to help someone who needs me, and I can help you. And I said, if you were my child, I would put herbs all over your hands. I said, but I'm not going to do that. We'll use, I was like, let's just use some like typical first aid stuff, and we'll keep an eye on it and see if you need stitches. Because not everyone is into herbs, and I didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable. So, we just used things. I kept an eye on it. We kept pressure. He started feeling better. The color came back to his face, and the bleeding stopped. The bleeding stopped. I wrapped it with gauze. We did some bandaging, and I said, like, there's no rush. Like, let's just take our time, and let's get you mended. It's okay. And I think that for me in that moment was the first time I vocalized, when I became a mother, I am a mother now to all, and I am in service of all who need me. And it was honest and real. And I felt good to say that out loud, because now, ever since that moment, when I walk around in the world and someone needs help, I was at my daughter's school and this big display fell down. I didn't ask to go, I didn't ask if they needed help. I just went over and I was like, I am a mother. I am a helper. I am going to be here. I am going to help you put this display back up. Not because I was asked or I need to or I'm getting paid, but because this is who I am. And so I just invite you to really embody who it is you are. And I know some of you out there are doing important work of being a doula or helping people usher in through transitional moments of birth. And there are those of you who are doing the work of helping people through the passageway of death. So maybe for you, it's not necessarily the caretaking role of the mother, but it's more of the divine supporter through people's transitions. You might be a server at a restaurant, or you may be a customer service representative for a company. But if you embody this quality of the goddess and of the divine mother who caretakes every transition in and every transition out, it will change the quality through which you live your days. Okay, so that is the more larger kind of overarching themes of how you can do this. Now I want to give you tools to put in your pocket. And one of my dearest, closest friends, she would call them pocket tools. So Abby, if you're listening to this, thank you, because we actually designed for our yoga teacher training program a bunch of pocket tools, things that people could have in their pockets that they could pull out at any time of, day to support themselves. And so as modern goddesses walking through the world, you should always have some tools on hand. Now, these tools can be crystals. There's many different types of crystals. You can do research and find crystals that resonate for you. Crystals like this of protection, crystals like this that magnetize and create power, crystals that work more as like a conduit. So many different types, but these are great things you can keep literally in your pocket or wear, right? You can wear them as a protector or just as a way of holding energy close to your body. Another thing that you can keep in your pocket are actual plants. So I was out yesterday. I harvested, let me take this out. This is something separate. These are nettles I harvested yesterday. They're still, I might get stung, but I'll take that risk. They're not dried yet. They're just in the process of drying. So you can take herbs as you're walking through your day. And if there's an herb you feel really particularly drawn to or a flower, stick it in your pocket. They also make these beautiful necklaces. I don't have mine today, but where there's two pieces of glass and you can open it and stick an herb in and then close it. And then you can actually wear a dried or fresh plant on your body. And that's a really cool way to work with herbs as talismans. Another way to keep an herb, not necessarily literally in your pocket, but like in your body, is through the ritual practice of making tea. And this is something that I do daily. These are my pressed herbs from last night's blend. You can see that these are nettles from my yard along with licorice root. So I decided to use those two herbs for my overnight daily infusion. And I make these at night. And then I steep them overnight and then I drink them the next day. And this is part of my ritual self-care practice. And nettles in particular are a wonderful goddess centered herb because they are green, they're nourishing like the mother. Some people even call it mother's milk as another name for this herb because it's so nutrient dense. It's so high in iron, which builds our blood and our regenerative capacity. It gives us energy, life force. It's detoxifying. I mean, there's so many things about nettles. So you can listen to some of my other videos about nettles. I have an Herb of the Month video on nettles that you might really enjoy. Other things you can carry in your pocket are figurines. So this is the Venus of Willendorf. This is just a figurine that I was gifted for my birthday from my husband. Thank you, babe. And I love this goddess. And sometimes I'll just hold her in my hand, when I'm doing chores, or I'll stick her in my pocket or stick her in my bra. And just having a figurine like this. I also have some other figurines. This one, my daughter, Virginia, made me. Isn't this beautiful? Look at this. It's like, let's see if I can get her in focus. It's a little clay figurine. She's got some carvings on her. Yeah, you can see. Nothing that special. It's just like a female form. My daughters also made these at the Midwest Women's Herb Conference. These are just like little fairy goddesses. And so when I travel, sometimes I'll stick these in my suitcase. Right now, they're just sitting on my desk. And so they accompany me. And just, again, symbols of the divine goddess. What else? Another ritual practice that will make you feel good all day long is when you wake up, wash yourself with some cool water. So you can just splash cold water on your face. You can just take a quick rinse in the shower don't do hot scalding water, but just do like a little cool water rinse. And then take luscious oils and just cover your body. I use an herbal oil that I made, but you can find different infused herbal oils. I'll include a link to some of my favorites. And just cover your body, adorn your body, take care of your goddess skin with oils, with that splash of cool resetting water. And then dress yourself in natural fibers, dress yourself in clothing that makes you feel good, that make you feel flowy, that are comfortable, and put on jewelry and find things that make you feel really present and adorned and loved and beautiful. And if you can do that for yourself every morning, your day will go differently than if you just sort of throw on things haphazardly and you're trying to cover your body up in a way that is not honoring you and the energy you have to carry and the beauty and the receptivity that is part of you as goddess. And again, this can be in a male body. You can embody the goddess in anybody. And then the final, what was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, yeah, drop doses of herbs. This is something I like to do as a way of ritually honoring my body. I have a number of different herbs throughout the house, but throughout the day, I'll kind of like just check in if I need something. I'll just take a few drops of a tincture, or this is a flower essence. This is a flower essence of holy basil, which is a beautiful herb that just sort of connects you with your heart space. This is made by the Sacred Forest Flower Essences. Some friends of mine who live in the mountains of North Carolina make these flower essences. Some other herbs I like to take as drop doses throughout the day is black cohosh, a really deep, earthy, rooting medicine that kind of connects you more into the dark body of the goddess. Black cohosh is a medicine that really helps us to unravel some of our subconscious and unconscious material. So if you're doing deep cave Plutonian work, then black cohosh as drop dose is a great herb to work with. You can also work with rose. And one of my favorite rose glycerate blends was made by, or is made by, Mother Hild. I'll include a link to that as well. And that rose essence, I just take it usually in the mornings after I bathe and I get myself ready for the day. I'll take a few drops, just connect to myself to the goddess within and feel that protection of the thorns, right? I can be soft and have boundaries. And rose is always a medicine that helps me to really feel both that vulnerability and that fortress or fortitude, right? Feeling like I'm boundaried and I'm open. And rose is a great medicine for working with that. And there are so many other herbs you can work with in that way. So if there's an herb you're working with, maybe an Artemisia for Artemis, maybe you really want to work drop dose with lemon balm for the worship of the goddess of the bee and the hive mentality. Maybe you're trying to build your social network, in which case lemon balm is a great one for collecting that hive energy around you. So you can just think about what are the herbs that you might want to work with, and then just taking drop doses and then sitting with it and just taking a moment of quiet. And I would also encourage you, this is another pocket tool that I do. I think we are so used to having constant stimulation of podcasts and this and that and sounds and music. Try to take a few minutes every day to have nothing, to be in the space, to listen to the birds, to listen to the wind, to listen to yourself, to listen to the home, right? Like there is a lot of information in our environment that can teach us how to be embodied in the current time, in the modern world, within the buzz of all things, without added stress and without added information. Try that on too. That's one of my favorite things is I'll just be like, look where I am. Look what is here. And this is enough. I don't need to add anything else. What I have here is enough. So that is a little mantra you can stick in your pocket. That, I think, gives us enough, doesn't it? So embodying the goddess in the modern world, we don't have to travel to Avalon to embody the goddess in the modern world. We can do it right here, right now, with the plants that are around us, with the crystals and stones that we have in our possession. We can make art. We can dress ourselves in the clothes that feel good. We can drink the teas that nourish and feed us. And just by these simple acts alone, we can tend ourselves, we can tend Mother Earth, and we can tend and care for future generations. And that, my friends, that is enough. So with that, I thank you for being here. I thank you for your comments, for being a part of the participation of this channel, which I so dearly love. And I'm so grateful for all of you who are here with me on this journey. And if there's other topics you'd like me to discuss, please leave those in the comments section. I am always open and willing to discuss all things that my community is interested in. So with that, I will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.